Hey kiddos, here I am, Classroom 13, chapters 19 and 20. Liam is chapter 19. Lucy sniffed something and felt sick. She held her nose and waved away a fart cloud. Did you do that? Lucy asked. Guilty as charged, Liam said, tipping his Viking helmet to her. Liam stood there with a devilish grin and a milk mustache above his lip. I'll work with you, but you can't fart around me, Lucy said. Understood? Works for me. I may be able to fart the national anthem, but I don't want to be famous for farts. I've broken records. I've come back from the dead, and I used to breathe underwater. Everybody thinks they know what I'm going to do next, but I'm ready to shock them. Let's aim higher, like 200 stories higher. Where are you going with this? Lucy asked, already bored. Straight to the top of the world's tallest diving board, woman, and I'm taking the whole world with me. The stunt made national news. They've showed images of a diving board 200 stories in the air. On the ground was a swimming pool full of chocolate pudding. News reporters hovered, talking to their viewers like they were about to witness the greatest event in the history of mankind. In just a few short minutes, local legend Liam Lancaster, a young man who refuses to remove his Viking helmet, will attempt the impossible, a 200-story belly flop into a pool of chocolate pudding. Will he survive? Absolutely, Liam said, starting his climb up the ladder. The first 20 stories were easy enough. He turned and flexed for the cameras, then waved to family and friends. But by the time Liam reached 50 stories up, he began to feel nauseous. Maybe eating all those corn dogs right before wasn't the best idea. Liam tried to shake it off and keep climbing. 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet. The people looked like ants, and then smaller than ants, and then he couldn't see them. As some who rode roller coasters every chance he got, Liam never thought he'd be afraid of heights. But now the air was thinning at his height. The worst part was, his hands wouldn't stop sweating. He had to be careful climbing the ladder. When Liam finally reached the diving board, he clung to the rail, then looked down. Big mistake. The world was so far away. His knees knocked together. From the ground, people looked up with binoculars. It looked like Liam was doing a funny dance on purpose, but he wasn't. Liam was afraid. Liam looked over the edge of the diving board. If he misjudged the angle of the belly flop, he'd be a pancake, and not the tasty kind. I regret this decision, he shouted to the wind. Liam couldn't do it. It was just too terrifying. He turned around to climb back down the ladder, just as a strong gust of wind blew his Viking helmet off his head. When he reached for it, he slipped. Liam was now free-falling 200 stories straight down. As he fell, his life flashed before his eyes. It was just a series of wonderful, hilarious farts. Maybe he should go back to farts. The ground got closer and closer, 2,000 feet, 1,500 feet, 1,000 feet, 500 feet. Liam said his prayers. That's when the amazing Emma, Classroom 13's only witch, flew straight toward him on her broom. Just as Liam was about to crash to the ground, Emma swooped in and caught Liam and his Viking helmet. As they landed safely on the ground, Liam fainted, then farted. Gross, Emma said. As his eyes slowly opened, Liam whispered, That was a fart for thank you. Chapter 20, Fatima. Are you an actress? Lucy asked Fatima. Who, me? Fatima said, No. That's a shame because I told my movie studio friends I had an actress, but things didn't really work out with him. But they let me keep this, Mason said, climbing back into the cardboard box like a kitten. Are you sure you're not an actress, kiddo? Fatima blushed. No, but I'm really good at reading comics. Any interest in starring in a comic book movie? Lucy asked. Those are all the rage right now. Comic book movie? Fatima said, unable to hide her smile. She considered the possibilities. No more cosplay with cheap costumes. She could wear a movie-grade supersuit. On screen, she'd be a real superhero, blasting special effects lasers out of her eyes, or maybe even flying. She could be on panels with her favorite comic book movie characters. And best of all, she'd be the first to see her comic book movie before everyone else. Ever heard of the Super Squad? Lucy asked as she scanned emails on her phone. They're looking for a new cast member for the sequel. Super Squad? It's only my favorite comic book movie of all time, Fatima squealed with delight. Count me in. Amazingly, Fatima was cast in the sequel to her favorite movie. Not so amazingly, Fatima was not cast as a superhero. She was cast as a supervillain. She would be the evil Porcupina, the half-human, half-porcupine nemesis with spikes all over her body. This was terrible. Fatima hated Porcupina. So did most comic book fans. Porcupina sliced and diced their favorite heroes and almost destroyed them on multiple occasions. She was cruel, awful, and just plain mean. She was the most sinister and deadly villain the Super Squad had ever faced in the comic books. But this was Fatima's chance to meet the cast and be part of a superhero franchise. She couldn't pass it up, so she stayed her course and played the villainess. After filming had wrapped, Fatima and the rest of the actors from Super Squad were invited to San Diego Comic-Con. As Fatima walked out on stage, the announcer said, "Introducing the bad girl you love to hate, Porcupina!" But rather than clapping and cheering, the fans went crazy with rage. They booed and hissed, tossing half-eaten corn dogs at her. One fan even threw a Porcupina action figure. Its tiny plastic spikes really hurt. Fatima was sad. No one at Comic-Con wanted a picture with her. Her co-stars were scared to be seen with her. She smelled like corn dogs. And worst of all, a mob of angry fans chased her out of the auditorium shouting, "Stay away from our heroes, evildoer!" "It's just a movie," Fatima yelled. That only made the fans even more mad. Fatima declined to go to the red carpet premiere. Instead, she stayed home and watched the first Super Squad movie alone. Don't feel too bad for Fatima. She made $1 million from the movie. Then again, famous agent Lucy LaRoe took most of that. Chapter 21's next. See ya!